Welcome to this webinar, Stop Being Boring, Start Leading. My name is Anna-Carolina, and I am here to share with you the 3 reasons how we can overcome to stop our potential from coming out. And it's a leadership awareness webinar that should help you to really understand deeper what I have found to be true about what it really takes to be more an active leader in our life, and how we can enable that. It doesn't really have to do with anything from outside, but a lot is our inner work. And this is what I would like to share with you. And I have created a little presentation, and I'm just going to start that presentation now so that we are going to go through this presentation, and in the end there's time for question and answers, and also in between I will come back here to this screen so that we can see if you have any questions in between. And yeah, let's just start with this and we go from there. So this webinar, as I said, is called Stop Being Boring, Start Leading. And I want to kind of give some context for whom is this webinar. It's for people who look for guidance, how to really bring your vision into life, and how to take that what is just kind of simmering inside of you into action and move it forward. And sometimes we're missing this, maybe you're missing this pathway. You have a big vision, but you don't really know how to structure your work and how to go about it. So this is also for you to find this pathway to really enable you to grow your leadership capacities and move forward. And also it's for people who feel like, oh, it's time for a new beginning, but I don't really know where to start. So if this is you, then this webinar is for you. And here we are. I have structured it in a way that we will look at those 3 categories that I feel are really the main roadblocks. And through sharing them with you, I want to enable you to be able to move them away, and also find out ways of how I can help you with that in the long run. So let me first share a little bit about myself. My name is Anna-Carolina, and I was born in Berlin, and I'm still living in Berlin. And I am the founder of Truth Circles, and Truth Circles is really about enabling people to connect with this purpose and truth that we have inside and take action and move forward with that. And I'm really passionate to change the leadership paradigm and come to a place where we understand that leadership really starts from within. I have worked with companies a lot around the globe with this holistic leadership approach that I have, and I enable them to really change their culture of leadership into a paradigm where people start leading for themselves, and through that have ongoing inspiration and creativity, and also accountability and action. And I also work with heart-centered entrepreneurs to help them bring their vision into life. And I provide them with the tools to make that happen. And my background is that I am a large group facilitator, and I also am a holistic consultant. And I've worked with companies such as SoundCloud and Etsy and Wikimedia, and also I've worked with smaller NGOs and community work. And in this context, I have facilitated large meetings with groups from 20 people up to 600. So that's my background. And my facilitation has been described as pure medicine and magic for the people that are involved in the meetings, and it's really touching their hearts and minds, but also their businesses. And I have also an MA from art history and history, and I've studied in Berlin and in London. And yeah, starting from the age of 22, I kind of got into this whole facilitation world. But I'm going to share a little bit more about that in this presentation, because I really wanted to make sure that you understand where I'm coming from. And so please bear with me. I will come to those 3 reasons in a little bit, but just for you to understand where I come from, I want to go a little bit deeper into my personal story so that you understand my calling. So here you see my beautiful parents. I was born in 82 in East Berlin. The pictures are black and white, as you can see. And my parents were young, and they were not part of the communist system. Actually, they were outsiders. And because of that, they were also really limited by the system that we were living in. And they could feel the results of that. My mother, for example, wasn't allowed to do her normal A-levels and go to university. So she had to go into this world of she studied theology, and so did my dad. So even though we are not very Christian, that is the community that I was raised in. Also, my family was spied by the Stasi. So really, when I write here that I was born unfree, it's not that I was unfree, but the system that I have experienced in the first years of my life, I really understand how leadership can be abused, how it can be used wrong. And in those Stasi, that's the name of the security system of the East, they gave a nickname to my father, and they called him Circle, because he was involved in so many circles of people being interested in democracy and philosophy and literature, also music. So that's a little bit funny when I found out that he was called Circle, and now my business is called Truth Circles. So there is some lineage here. I just want to show you a little bit how, despite the surroundings, I did have quite a creative life. My mother, you see here, her in this fashionable 80s look, and she always made sure that we would, play in theater and come up with creative stuff so that life was never boring. And we had a big circle of friends and really felt this free spirit that was still possible to create despite the circumstances. And also in her own life, beside her work, she has written books and published them. And so she's really a big role model for me to follow your own creativity. My father, you see him here, after the wall came down, he was one of the first members from the East to go into the European Parliament, where he was a member for the next 20 years. And that was really like his dream come true, that he could be really involved with democracy and supporting with a value-based leadership to create society where everybody can really live their freedom, basically. So that has been an inspiration for me also. And so after the wall came down, I did really feel like, wow, I am the one in my family who's really empowered to go and explore the world. So that has always been, like a duty. I really felt like a duty to take that freedom and to do something with it. So I went to school in Ireland, I studied in London, I was going to France after school and was working on farms. You see me here with the donkey. That's when I was in France. And then I've also lived in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. I have spent a month in New York, and Russia is on this list. I was only visiting Russia for a long journey, but I just wanted to show that I really feel this, I really felt that exploring my own personal space and this freedom that I have was always part of my life. But, that's one level on a private, as a private person to go and explore my opportunities. But on a personal level, I was struggling actually a little bit, because I studied art history and history, but I was always interested in holistic consulting and in facilitating people or processes where people can really take action based on their passion. And I didn't know, there was like a side hobby that I was doing, but I didn't know how to put it into my work and how to make that happen. So here you see me in a vacation after I had finished university. And it was this summer 7 years ago. And I had my MA, I had my passion for facilitation. And I was trying to apply for jobs in consultancies. And here I got how do you say that? I wasn't accepted. And I felt so, I didn't have a vision of what to do with my life. I felt like, oh, I can apply in the jobs of the field of art history and history. Maybe I can work in museums and give workshops there to combine my different talents. But it didn't really feel inspiring. And yeah, in that vacation, I went on a walk and sat on a mountaintop and didn't really know what to do. And then I heard this voice, and it said, "Who doesn't dare cannot win." And in German, it came in German, the voice, it said, "Wer nichts wagt, der nichts gewinnt." And in that moment, I knew I had to follow my calling. I had to follow what I really had a passion for, which was already part of my life, but I wasn't daring to fully go that way. And so I decided in that moment that I was going to go to the US and become a genuine contact trainer, which is a holistic consultant approach, and to pursue this path that I was already called to go on. And along that journey, in that moment, but also in the following years, I really learned a lot about fears and different fears that I was confronted with and that I also see in other people from the coaching work that I do, the fears that we are confronted with. And that's something that I want to talk about here today. But okay, let me just share a little bit here with you that after that decision and after I took that training, I came back and I really started to go on this path of facilitating workshops, facilitating organizational development processes. And here you see different examples of me facilitating different meetings. And yeah, it's a great joy. And I'm very, very happy that I had the courage to follow my calling. And I think that it's so rewarding to go to follow your passion, to follow what you feel is really your path. And that's why I'm so committed to help other people do the same, because I feel that happiness that brings from taking that courage, it is it's, yeah, you can't compare it, and you can only know for yourself how fantastic it is. And that's why it's absolutely worth to find out, you know, what is holding you back. And this is what this presentation is about. So let me start with this first reason that I see is really holding us back. And those are all the fears we have about ourselves, the fears that we have inside, in so many ways to sabotage ourselves. First one is this whole fear of that I'm not the right person. Like, who do I think I am? Why do I think it's gonna work for me? Others have done maybe the same already. I'm too late, or maybe nobody has ever done it. I have no role models. I don't know how to do it. And just this whole self-doubt. Am I the right person? And the next one is quite close to that also. it's this idea, like, even if I have something inside, probably I'm just a stupid dreamer. I live in this fantasy world, and maybe I can even take some actions to move my life into that direction that I think is possible. But at some point, this bubble is going to burst, and then I will wake up ashamed, and people will look at me and saying, like, we knew you were just a dreamer. What you have in mind there is just your colorful fantasy. And yeah, that whole fear that it's just an illusion inside that we're trapped in, that is a big one. The next one here is this idea that we need to have figured everything out, what we're going to offer. So I'm not really sure what is it that I'm going to offer. How am I gonna, make money from it? What will be the package? I need to figure it completely out before I can start going into this direction. And so, we think that it all needs to be clear from the start and from the beginning, and we have to have this amazing business plan. And without that, it's not worth even starting. And then, of course, we also feel like we're going to end up under the bridge. We're going to end up starving if we go outside of the box or the normal way. Maybe, you're considering, am I leaving my job? Or maybe am I shifting jobs? I will end up in a desert. I won't have money. I won't have clients. I won't have support. And that is can keep you awake at night, this fear of ending up in your personal desert. Yes. Let's see what's next. I will be alone. I will work long hours, and I'm just basically building my own golden cage. We have this stereotype of leaders, people who follow their own path, that they will be lonely. And we are afraid that it's just going to be the result of it, and it's unavoidable, and you're just going to be lonely. And I think that's there definitely will be moments where you have to figure out stuff by yourself. But I think so. It's a bigger topic. Basically, also, of course, you have to become more familiar with or more comfortable with the fact that you can be alone. That's a great capacity of somebody who is taking leadership. You have to be comfortable with being by yourself and trusting your own instinct and all of that. Nevertheless, I don't think that if you follow your own path and you have that courage to move forward with your things, that you will just end up all by yourself. There's always your network of support that is there. And so, yeah, but this fear is definitely one that is very present in our culture and also in our minds, I believe. And then there is this fear that we don't have enough resources. On different levels, like I don't maybe have enough money to invest in, and also there will be so many new skills that I have to learn, and so much that's required from me. I'm not resourceful enough to go on that journey. That is another fear that is holding us back to follow that path that we actually hear loud and clearly speaking to us and calling us. And yeah, I have no resources is one of the other fears that can get very loud inside of us. So those are the fears that I have kind of gathered up as the fears that we have inside. I'm sure there's even more, but yeah, those are the ones that I feel worth mentioning here. And hopefully with that also kind of make you aware of what are the fears that I feel maybe they're missing here from that list. I would be curious from you to see if there is something missing for you, and also if those are familiar. Maybe you can just give me a little like message in the chat if any of this feels familiar to you. Here we are. You see that there is this message board at the side, and you can just give me a little feedback if any of that feels familiar to you. Okay, you're all quiet for the moment, reflecting. It's also fine. Yes, the one other do the same. How can I succeed? Yes. Others do the same, and how can I succeed with that? Exactly, right? There are those other people that have already started, and now there's no place for me doing what I'm doing. And actually, you know, this whole idea that there's just one person who can serve with one thing and not two. Also, yes, oh, thank you. There's just some compliments here that it's very juicy and that you're enjoying this presentation. I'm happy you're enjoying it. So maybe if you're ready, we can look at the next reason that is holding us back from taking the leadership in our life. And then in the end, we can have some Q&A and also some sharing. And please do write in the chat if you have some thoughts, and then I can, when I come back from the screen share, I can look at it. So let's continue with the screen share. So the reason number 2 is all the fears that we have about others, what they think about us, what they have in mind. And some are reasonable and some are not so reasonable, but you will come across, maybe some of them are familiar. One that happened to me at least is that people don't really see, you know, where you want to go with that. They are not your clients. They are not my clients, and they let me know that they don't need my services. You know, my inner closest circle of friends and family, just like, I don't see anybody is going to pay for that, and sorry, I can't support you with that, and I don't see a bright future for you because I can't see it. Or, you know, that's what the other people are saying. So their fear of you daring something new, and maybe it's a new service that you're offering, they might feel, you know, obliged to tell you that they just see this empty mountain landscape of a very rocky way that doesn't lead anywhere. And this vision can easily be shared with you, and then like, okay, now you have to tell me that this is going to be a paradise, and you just feel like, oh, those are all your ideas, maybe you keep them for yourself, you don't have to walk my path. So basically here you see this determined spirit who actually really hears her calling, and the others feel like, oh, maybe there is something, but still we don't really get it. I need to understand it with my mind so that I can give you permission that you have a mission to move forward with this. And, you know, maybe they also feel like they have to warn you and that you don't regret your decisions later. And basically they don't have that heartbeat inside when they think about your vision. And that's why they really, yeah, you might feel in between, like, really nobody gets your mission, nobody gets what's really driving you and is giving you that energy boost inside that you feel is actually there once you start going on your path. And so also others worry for your future. You know, they feel like you're going on a road to nowhere, and it would be better if you wouldn't take such a free spirited route. And you know, it might also even happen that you lose their friendship, that you realize, okay, some people are really there to support you, whether they like or understand your vision or not. And others will really just continue to pull you down or to trying to talk you out of it. And maybe some friendships really change if you make a change in your life. Also, people change and new people can come in. That's the beauty of it. And in the end, maybe it just all boils down to the fact that others can't help you really. And in the end, we do have to make our decisions by ourselves. And we are the ones who have to learn the new skills. And the others, they can't help us. They can't teach us what we need to learn. And so we might have to find new people that can help us on this journey that we are going on. And that's just a sheer fact, but it's not a reason to hold you back from going on your own path and following your purpose. So yeah, that is the second reason. I feel like the reason of of the people around you, those projections they have towards you and your purpose driven new way. And the third reason that is really holding us back is our different strategies of avoiding our fears. And we put a lot of energy into avoiding our fears. And there's very different ways how that happens. And I have, again, gathered some examples. And I'm curious if they sound familiar to you. Maybe you see them in other people, maybe in yourself. And yeah, let's hear afterwards what resonated with you. So the first one is workload. In order to avoid our fears, we can just make ourselves extremely busy. Busy if you are in a job with your work and just getting more and more on your to-do list. And if you are maybe in this process of starting something new, you feel like you need to renovate your house first, you need to move things from A to B, so you don't have time to actually sit down and think about your plan or think about your project that you want to move forward. And we also see and we hear those terms of bore out, like I'm so bored, I have no energy left to come up with anything inspiring. And also burnout. Obviously, we unfortunately see many people with burnout these days. And both of them are really tied to the fact when we are emotionally not nourished, not satisfied with what we're doing, then the stress load is just even more extreme. So yeah, you might see that either from your friends or colleagues, just this big unhappiness of workload. And it can be either something, it can even be stuff that's actually not really creating any value, but still the people are so busy. And also hopefully not in a burnout, but in some degree on that scale of just putting too much workload on us. That might be a strategy that you're just avoiding, to actually sit down and think about, it's time to change my whole perspective. It's time to change the whole way I'm approaching my life and stop being so busy and actually sit down with myself and see what's really important now for me, and what do I really hear, what is next for me. Then there is people with a tendency to always cater other people's need first. And they find, maybe it's in their neighborhood, or maybe it's their neighbors or their friends, or somebody, needs some extra love or some extra support or a project at the side. And you always say, yes, I can help you. Yes, I can help you. Maybe it's a thing that is more for women. Maybe it's a type thing. I also was discussing this with a friend, and she said, well, but you should also say that, helping others is important. So yes, maybe there's also people that don't help others and they only think about themselves. That's obviously also not going to get you anywhere. But I have found for myself this strategy of helping others, and being so busy then again with that, creating such a workload for myself that I can't really put my business and my plan and my personal development first. So yeah, catering to others is a great way of avoiding to sit with our fears that are holding us back from taking action. The next one here that I see a lot is engaging in drama. And there's so many different ways of how we can engage in drama. What do I mean by drama? Drama could be, just following the lives of others in your Facebook feed or Twitter. It can be that you get very upset with politics, that you get very upset with what's going on in where you're living. I also feel that we can get involved and engaged in this whole drama that the world's going to end soon anyway. It's not worth trying to change anything. And this whole story that the end is near, I mean, maybe it's not that explicit how the story in our society is shared, but I think the underlying tone is really that, well, you think you can make a difference, but actually you can't, because the world is bad anyway. And who do you think you are, and why are you even trying? So, you can just sit down, watch your Netflix, watch your TV, and, through that you get your kick. But don't think that, the world's going to change if you change. I think that is a very present, way of how we look at at life and at society at the moment. And that is really a way of getting trapped and just this downward spiral, so that we don't continue to bring our purpose into the world and to make a change from where we are with what we have. And then the last one is this whole idea that I'm not ready. I find that a lot with coaching people, that they are finding very different excuses when they are going to be ready. First, I need to be perfect at mastering this online skills, or I need to meditate more, or I need to be fitter, or I have to have my routine of meditating and eating healthy, and then I can, do this one yoga pose, and then I can start work. And just, another way of avoiding to get started is this: I'm not ready. And then maybe waiting for the horoscope to tell you when you're ready, or waiting for a voice to tell you when you're ready. I mean, it worked for me, but it might also postpone quite a lot of time. And maybe your horoscope and all the voices are already saying, yes, please start. But you're still kind of waiting and thinking you're not ready. So if you don't see it in yourself, I'm sure somebody in your life that comes from that place where they're not ready. So catch yourself with that one. So yes, those are the 3 reasons and strategies that I found that are really holding you back from living your potential and moving forward on that path. And those are the fears that we have about ourselves, the fears that we have what others bring to us and what they share with us and what they project onto us, and we're afraid of being confronted with their fears. And then our whole way and strategy of avoiding fears. And I hope that this has really created some awareness for you. And I feel that, this is always the first the first step to become aware of it, because then you can start working with it. And yeah, let me come back to the full screen, because I do want to do a little exercise with you here before we go into more question and answers. And maybe you can roll your shoulders back a little bit and become present. You have seen like all those different this presentation now, and you've checked in with yourself. What is alive for you? What you feel is really loud? Which voice in your head or which strategy or holding you back? And I invite you to take a hand, maybe the hand you're not writing with. When you write a letter, take the other hand. I take my left hand up and just feel all the fears in that hand. Feel them, and then take your other hand, the hand you're writing with, and feel the commitment you have towards your own path, towards your own calling. What weight does it have? Which weight is stronger? And then check in with yourself how you can make your commitment stronger than your fears. Your fears are always going to be there, but your commitment towards yourself and your own path has to be stronger. So just see how you can make that stronger, despite all the fears and all the busyness that's going on. Feel how strong your commitment is. Thank you. So I do come from this idea and philosophy that the world is going to be a better place if we follow our own truth, if we follow our own calling. And that's why I really believe that this is the base for becoming a happy person, becoming a successful in your business, because it really radiates out to the people that you're working with. You become this shining role model and example. And that's why I have, and I would like to share that with you before we come to the Q&A. I want to share with you an offer that I have created. And it's a program that I'm starting this summer, and it's called Dare to Lead. And it's really, if you feel that it's your time to start leading and to start really not waiting any longer, I really invite you to go to my website, truecircles.com/dare to lead. And I've created space in my schedule in the next following days. If you just contact me through the website, I give you access to my calendar, and then we can speak in person. And I really believe that having a mentor is very, very helpful. We can figure out a lot by ourselves, but we can also use this summer time that we have now, where everybody else is kind of more quiet, and hopefully you're not so busy this summer, to come back to yourself, to listen to your calling, and to create a map for yourself and a clarity of your commitment of moving forward. And that's my offer to you. And now I'm absolutely here for your questions and to see what has resonated with you and what you would like me to look at with you. So let's see what there is here. Would it be the same reasons if the resistance comes more from rage than from fear? There is in my world of how I see the world, or not how I see the world. Okay, so one of the main tools that I'm working with, you can see it hanging on the wall behind me. It's a medicine wheel tool, and if you work with me, I'm going to get much more deeply into it. But what you're addressing here is, what are the different ways that are holding us back from taking leadership? And in this medicine wheel tool, in the medicine wheel, there is the archetype of the warrior. And that's that archetype in us that really shows up and is fully present for our calling and for what is true for us. And when we are out of balance, then there is this wounded child of the North. Maybe that's quite specific right now, but that can play out in fear, and it can play out in rage, and it can play out in different ways. And if we don't understand how to work with that aspect of ourselves, we will always be a victim of that rage or of that fear, and we won't be able to actually move forward because we're so busy with our rage, we're so busy with our fears. And we are actually, the car is driven by our rage or by our fear, and then we are not in the driver's seat, and we need to get into the driver's seat to move forward. Otherwise, the life just takes different routes. If you are very driven by, or your reactions come from a place of rage rather than a place of purpose and clarity, then you create situations that don't move you forward, but actually stop you from going forward. And actually you have to maneuver around and take care of the mess you have created because of your fears or because of your rage. I hope that answered your question. Let's see if there is more. Yes, you did. Thank you. Yes, my pleasure. What I feel, maybe I would just like to add that, and maybe you're still typing in your comments or your questions, is this aspect that I really don't think that we will be those enlightened beings that overcome any of those fears or obstacles, but really that it takes this courage. It takes this courage that's stronger. So in our mind, we have all those pros and cons and pros and cons, and it's important, and we need our mind. Yeah, without our mind and our intellect, we won't be able to organize and structure our work. But the courage comes from the French cœur, the heart, is really the place where it all starts. We need to create a strong heart and a strong connection to this uniqueness that we have inside, and to cultivate our communication with this inner calling, that we are able to overcome any obstacles, or to be with obstacles, and then to find ways how to maneuver around, or how to work with them, and actually see how they are benefiting us to grow even beyond those obstacles. And I find a lot that in our world we are so driven by rational systems of looking at pros and cons and Excel spreadsheets and so on. And I think that's hasn't been my approach. I really need to be clear inside what it is, that from that place I can create, and that creates, for me, is a way of how I stay and move forward, and also have the right feeling in the right moment to speak with somebody here or make a bold move. But it doesn't come only from here, it also comes from here and from my intuition. And that is important. So there's another question here. Sometimes I ask myself whether marketing and advertising is the only way to reach people and to find clients. What do you think? This is a great question. And I think we have to grow our understanding of marketing and advertising. So it's a big question. You know, speaking and going to network events is also a way of marketing yourself. And also maybe at some point you want to be able to work with like advertisement and all of that. But it all starts with a true connection with yourself. I think, you know, we're so flooded with advertisement, and then we have advertisement blockers, and maybe the people that you're working with, they don't even look at advertisement because they don't believe in this type of communication, because for them that all is tied to a paradigm that they don't want to identify with. So that we really have to find new ways of, or maybe not new ways, it's new ways and a new relationship to marketing and to advertising. I believe, you know, with this, it's tied to that bigger question that if, from my understanding, if we share our gift with the world, or our medicine in this way of how I look at it, we each have a medicine. When I share my medicine, I get healthy and my environment gets healthy. And when I hold it back, I get unhealthy and my environment is also missing out something. So it's not marketing for a reason of destruction, or for a reason, you know, the marketing and the advertising becomes a service of love, and becomes a service of, or becomes serving to sharing that. You know, I think many of the people that I work with, they bring out something that many people are not even aware of. They hope that something like that exists, but because it's not visible, they can't find it. They, in their circle of friends, nobody knows about it. So we have to find ways to share this knowledge, or this whatever your service is, with the world, so that they can also access it. So I think the whole relationship with marketing and advertisement goes somehow in a very different frequency, or in a very different field. So then it also, the technical aspect is just one of it, but the quality or the energy of it is something very different than all the or a lot of the advertisement that we see in the world, that is has a very different purpose than serving. I hope that was helpful. So let's see what you write here. Yes, it's courage. And the main point, as I see it, is to fully commit to our medicine, and to really reach out to support, to build up something bigger than the small self. Yeah, I really feel like we're in this time where new tribes are building, where new communities are building, and where we are building bridges. You know, we're not like hiding with this approach that we're working with, and it has to be just for insiders. You know, actually, our world is shifting and changing so much that I feel like we're really in a time right now where this, yeah, if you may want to say, because you mentioned the medicine, you know, this more indigenous knowledge, or some also call it esoteric knowledge or whatever, becomes more mainstream, because we have separated a lot of this, like, wisdom, and our medicine is something private, or something to take care of maybe when we meditate, but not to bring it into a business world, or not to bring it into the corporate world. And if your service is built around that, I think it's a little bit like the wall has come down. You know, it's your duty to bring it into the world. It's your duty to travel and to go into those places where you feel it's missing. So if you're not going to do it, how do we think, you know, the world's going to change if we don't have the courage to bring it out further, and to find like-minded people to share what it is that we really feel would make a difference in the world? And yeah, so the finger points at us. Yeah, it's our time to do that. And then there's another comment here that it's all about becoming visible, and there are more possibilities to become visible than advertising. I can find new ideas about this issue, becoming visible. Yes, and becoming visible is really one of the biggest fears I imagine. Becoming visible is a little bit like becoming visible and naked at the same time, because we have to, I think, you know, becoming visible means to become vulnerable and coming forward with our, you know, not just something, but actually with ourselves and with our offer. And that's, to become visible with that really takes a good connection to yourself, that we breaks through that fear that is connected to with being visible. Okay, so maybe we are at the end of our time and at the end of our questions. So if you do have something else, please put it in there. And also thank you for your beautiful questions and for spending the time here together. And let's just roll the shoulders back for a last time. And I just really want to say thank you to you. And I really want to say again, please reach out to me and check out this website, Truth Circles Dare to Lead, and see if there would be something interesting for you or for somebody else that you know. And just really click on this link where it says meet me and talk to me. And then we can come together and have a personal conversation and see how I can serve you best, and if this program is for you, or also a different way of working together. And yeah, I really believe that this personal conversation is really the best way of finding out if there's a click or a match or how I can support you. And it's the easiest, so just walk that way, and then I will be very happy to support you. And I just want to say thank you and wish you a beautiful rest of your day and send you much, much love. And bye bye for now. Thank you.